Hey everybody, welcome back. Mike here. In today's video, we have a ton of stuff we're gonna get through. I'm gonna show you guys how to use Google Forms to create surveys or even quizzes to get responses from people for just about anything. And the best part is it's super easy to use. I promise you, after watching this video, you are going to know just about everything you would ever wanna know about Google Forms. So we have a ton of stuff to get into. Let's get to it. All right, so the first thing you need to know about getting started with Google Forms is you will need a Google account. In this case, I'm using my own personal Gmail account, and I headed over to google.com, as we can see here. Now, to get to Google Forms, all you have to do is go to these dots on the top right where it says Google Apps. We'll go ahead and click that, and you'll just scroll down until you see Forms. We'll see that right here. We'll go ahead and click it. All right, once you see that, it opens up the Forms interface. If you had created any previous forms, you would see them right here. We don't have any, so let's go ahead and go click blank to create our new form. All right, now we see the form creator screen pop up, and this is what our form will start out looking like. So we have here the title, untitled form. Let's go ahead and give it a name. We'll say Mike's Saturday, maybe it won't be lunch. We'll call it Saturday lunch. So we're having a get together. We're going to have a bunch of people over, and we want to know some things about what they're bringing, if they're coming, all of that. So that's why we're creating this. So then we have the ability to create a description. I'm just going to say Mike is having an epic get together on Saturday, and we need to know some things about who's coming and so on. I don't know. That's pretty bad, but you get the idea. So we have that description and the title. In the top left, before we get further, we have the name of the form. So I'm going to go ahead and click it, and you see it change there. So it basically mirrors this title. So by changing the title, I went and clicked on the title there. It now is named Mike's Saturday Lunch. If I go click this little icon for forms now, we see that it now shows I have a form that I am working on currently. If we click these three dots, it says we can either rename it, we can remove it, or we can open it in a new tab. Obviously, in our case, we can also just click on it to open it back up. All right, so once we're here, let's get started actually creating our form. Now, the first thing we need to do is start with some questions. So let's start off with a simple one. Are you coming to lunch? So we ask that question. We have the type of question here. So we can do a short answer, which would just be some text, maybe a longer answer in the form of a paragraph. We can also do checkboxes if we want the people to answer with multiple responses. We could do a drop down as well, and we can also even allow our respondents to upload a file right here. We also have the option linear scale as well as some checkbox grids, and we'll look at those in a minute. So for our case, I'm good with multiple choice. Let's leave it there. So let's go ahead and fill out our options. So first option, I'll just say yes. To add another option, we'll just click below that and start typing, and it already has no, so that's perfect. Now we also have the option here to add an image to this question if we wanted to. I'm good with this for now, so I'm not going to do that, but this is where you could do that. All right, now in our case, we do want this to be a required item. So if we don't check this little toggle here, if we don't do that, then people can skip answering this question. But it's very important that we know who's coming to lunch, so we're going to leave it on. That looks good. If we don't like any of those responses, by the way, we could also remove them right here and change them and add them, that sort of thing. This looks good though. So in our case, to create another question, we'll go ahead and click this plus right here. And we'll go ahead and start with this question. We'll say, which movie do you prefer? I don't know. We're going to watch a movie at this lunch. It's going to be kind of strange. Maybe we're going to do lunch and then a movie. So which movie do you prefer? We'll click this. We'll change that to a drop down. And for movie type, we'll say Talladega Nights. We'll go Braveheart and Bourne Identity. How about that? Wow, I can't type. There we go. So we got a few options. You know what, maybe we'll add another one because Avatar 2 is pretty good. So we got a few options here. We'll actually, I think we'll make this one, we'll leave it off. We won't make that a required response. All right, from here, let's go ahead and add another question. We'll say on a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to recommend Mike's Saturday lunch form? There we go. That's a pretty cheesy question, but you'll see here that because I typed on a scale of 1 to 5, it automatically changed the type to linear scale, which is actually pretty cool. So it knows that because of the text that I put there, what kind of question it was. Obviously, we could change it if we want to, but I'm good with that. So what this means ultimately is we could just specify the scale. We can say from 1 to 5, from 1 to 10, and so on. For 1, we'll say, not likely. For 10, we'll say extremely likely. All right, that looks good. Now, I also want to show you something kind of cool here. So on the right, we haven't talked about this, but if you had other forms, you can actually import questions from other forms. We could also add a title and description. So this is just kind of like a text box. If I click it, I can say, thanks for filling my form out. There we go. I can go ahead and maybe make it bold. In addition to that, let's scroll down. We can also add images here, YouTube videos. We can also add different sections. So if I click that, we see here at the bottom it says section 2 of 2. I'll say here, who will you be bringing with you? And for that section, I'm going to add a question. Oops, actually, let's see. We'll call this about you. That'll be the name of the section. And then our question, there we go, will be who are you bringing with you? And for this, we'll go ahead and change this one to, that is already short answer, so we'll leave it there. Now, one of the cool things here with Google Forms is we can actually do response validation. So we can say, I want to make sure that whatever answer they type there, I want to make sure that it's a certain type of answer or that it contains a certain piece of text. To do that, all you have to do is go to the question that you're working on the validation for and click these 3 dots right here and go to response validation and click this. So we'll see here, it starts off by saying numbers should be greater than or less than or between. In our case, we'll just say text, and we'll say the text should contain, or you know what, how about this? This is horrible, but we don't like Ryan. Ryan is not allowed to come to our get together anymore. We had a bad experience with him. So, I'm gonna say, you can't type in the name Ryan. Ryan's not allowed to come to my house. So poor Ryan. So we're saying basically out of the responses here, if you type any name, you're good. But if you type Ryan, if the text contains Ryan, we'll say if it contains Ryan, then sorry, Ryan isn't allowed. So it'll give them an error. All right. Now, in addition to that, you also saw here, I went through it pretty fast. We could also do it based on the length of the response. We can do it based on the number. We can say, if they give us a URL or an email that it can't contain certain text or it should contain certain text, etc. So we can do a lot with that. All right, so let's continue down. Let's ask another question. We'll say, let's see what we got here. Let's do a checkbox. We'll say, what food do you like? And for this one, we'll select checkboxes. And we'll say chicken wings. We'll do hamburgers. We'll do salad. And I don't know, potato salad. Lots of salad, that's kind of weird. All right, so there's a few different options there that we can have them select. All right, so we got a couple of basic sections created and a few questions here of various types. Now I want to show you something kind of cool. If we go up here, we see that we have our section 1 starts right here and goes up to the very top. Now in our case though, you see how I put this note here, thanks for filling my form out. That should actually be at the end of the form, right? So what we can do with any of these sections, you see these dots when you highlight these sections, you can actually drag those and we can reorganize. So I'm going to put this at the very bottom and drop it there. So now the thank you for filling my form out is at the very end. Likewise, we could also reorganize our questions as well. We can go ahead and switch places with those questions if we'd like. In addition to that, if we go to the very top here, we have our multiple choice question at the very top, which is, are you coming to lunch? If we click on that, we also have the option for the multiple choice questions. If we click more options, we have the option here for go to section based on answer. So I can say that, go to section, if you say yes, let's go ahead and go to the next section, continue to next section. But if you say you're not coming, then I'm going to go ahead and just submit form. There's no reason to ask them to fill out all of this stuff if they're not coming in the first place. So that's how we can end this survey immediately based on that first question. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is some of the theme options. So if we go up here to the top, we have this customize theme button. If we click that, we see that we get the option to change our text styles and sizing. We can also add a header image. If we click that, it gives us the option to either upload one with this button right here, or we could just click our own. Maybe we'll just go with, I don't know, we'll just go with this one, I guess. I'm not sure what that is. Let's click it and hit insert. Okay, so yeah, we went with that one. Kind of odd, but it works. We can also specify the color of the form as well. So if we click this, we start seeing the changes right here. So we'll go ahead and change that. We'll change the background color. That looks good to me. From there, we can just click the X to get out of the theme settings. Now, I also want to hit on another point, which is these three dots right here. If we click those, this also gives us the option to make a copy of this form. We can throw it in the trash if we wanted to. We could also add additional collaborators. If we wanted other people to help us work on this form, that's how you can do that. You can click that right there, and then that'll give us the option to specify who should be allowed to edit this form. The big thing there is if you add anybody, I'll just say, let's say nobody@gmail.com. If we select that person, just make sure that their role right here says editor. It should say editor, but if it doesn't, make sure it says editor. From there, I'm going to cancel out because I'm not adding anybody to this form. The next thing I want to talk about is how to go to the settings. If we go to the top here, there's some useful settings here that you can take advantage of for your survey or quiz. The first one, which we're not going over in this video, is you could actually check this box. This will allow you to give point values and essentially make the survey turn into a quiz. If we go to responses here, we can expand this. We have the option to collect email addresses. So if we don't want this to be anonymous, you can collect email addresses there. We could also send a copy of the responses to that person directly. And finally, we can also allow them to edit their own response. So if we want them to be able to submit the form and then come back later and change an answer, they can do that here as well. All right, if we go down, we also have presentation. I kind of like this one. There's a progress bar. If we turn that on, it'll show the respondent how far they are along the way for the survey. So that way they don't think they're just taking a 2-hour-long survey. They'll actually see their progress with that survey bar or that progress bar. Another thing that might be useful is you have this confirmation message right here. So basically by default, when you submit the survey, it'll say your response has been recorded. We could change that and say, thanks for your response. Mike will be in touch. Something like that. We could hit save. All right, from there, the last thing I want to hit on is responses. If we go to the responses tab at the top, you can see here that we don't have any responses, but it says we are accepting responses. So once people start taking your survey, this is where your results will show. Now in our case, I want to go ahead and take it. So let's go ahead and do that. So if you are ready to share this survey with the world, how do you do that? All you have to do is go to send right here. We'll click that button. Now from there, you can have the option to send it directly from Gmail in this form right here. So by filling out their email address along with the subject. In my case though, what I like to do is go to the link right here and I click shorten URL. So this link right here, if you give this to people, they will then be able to take your survey. I'm gonna copy that and close this. And from there, if we go ahead and paste this into our browser, we will see what everybody else will see when they go to our survey. So in this case, I'm already logged in with Gmail, but it tells us right here that it is not sharing my address. So even though I'm logged in with Gmail, this form is not collecting my email. So let's go ahead and answer. So yes, we're coming to lunch. Let's see, which movie? I'm a big fan of, I gotta go with Talladega Nights. From there, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are we gonna recommend this form? I'll say, we'll say a 5, we're very happy. Now you'll notice that I'm missing a couple of questions here, and that's because this is the first section. So if we go down here, it says page 1 of 2. If we go to next, we now see our next section, section 2, which was about you. That is right here. For food type, we'll say salad and chicken wings. How about that? All right, so who are we bringing with us? We all know the name we're not going to type. We'll say Ryan. And we'll go ahead and see if that takes it. Okay, and we'll hit submit. All right, so we took our survey. Let's go ahead and look at our responses. If we go to responses right here, we see that we are still accepting responses right here. We do have our responses by question. We can see that we preferred Talladega Nights. Very likely to recommend our lunch form because it is awesome. We prefer chicken wings and salad, and they are bringing Ryan. Now, let's go ahead and look at the question. So let's troubleshoot this. Let's go back because we said we wanted to do that validation so that they could not enter Ryan. Let's see what happened. So we go back to our questions to the very bottom here, and we have who are you bringing with you? Ryan. So our problem was that we had it typed like this. So we had response, sorry, Ryan isn't allowed. I'm not sure why that disappeared there, but we see here it says text contains Ryan. We need to actually do the reverse. So we need to say text doesn't contain Ryan. So as long as they type any name except Ryan, we should be good. Let's go ahead and relaunch it. So let's get our link. And let's go ahead and open up a new tab and take our survey again, which will be good because we'll get more data. So in this case, we'll say, yes, we're coming to lunch. Born identity is, I'm going to choose actually avatar. And let's continue on. So I had tried to fill this out again. Let's go ahead and enter this. Yeah, so see here now we say, who are you bringing with you? It says Ryan, sorry, Ryan isn't allowed. If we type in Bob, we're good to go. We can submit that. And let's do one more response just to test. If you recall earlier, we did the setting where we said, if you say you're not coming to lunch, just submit the form. Let's try that. We'll say, are you coming to lunch? Nope, I'm busy that day. No. And from there, we should see, if I hit next to go to that next section, it ended it completely right here. So it just says submit to finish. It never asked me about the food I like or anything like that. From there, if we go back to our responses, we can see we have 3 responses now, and we see 1 person is not coming to lunch, 2 people are. Now you also have the option here to look at it on an individual basis. So if you click individual right here, you can actually go through each response. So see how it says 1 of 3? We can go through, this is respondent 1, 2, and 3. So we can go through each individual survey response this way. And finally, the last thing that I will mention as part of Google Forms that's super cool here is under responses, if you click link to Sheets, we'll click that, it can link to Google Sheets. So we can say, create a new spreadsheet. We'll call it Mike's Saturday Lunch, and we'll hit create. So what this will do is open up a new Google Sheet, which is just a spreadsheet as we see here, and it'll actually detail every response in all of these different cells. So this is a great way if you want to take those responses and put them in a large spreadsheet and then be able to do some interesting things in Google Sheets with them. That's how you can do it. All right, the last thing I want to show you is how to set up email notifications for new responses. So you send out the link and then now you're getting responses. If you want to get an email when you get those responses, all you have to do is go to responses and then over to these 3 dots right here and go to get email notifications for new responses. We'll click that. And you'll see on the bottom left, it says email notifications enabled. Once we click that, we'll now get email notifications for every response to this form. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you found this video useful. I hope you now feel that I fulfilled my promise that you can now use Google Forms very easily to do whatever you need to do. So that said, on your way out, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like this video if you did find it useful. It would mean a lot to me. So until next time, stay safe and healthy. Take care.